Life Magazine, this time on the Everything is a Primary Source podcast. Want to bring history to life in your classroom? With Everything is a Primary Source to go, you can borrow real historical artifacts from the last 200 years, shipped right to your school. It's hands-on history, paired with ready-to-use lesson plans and classroom activities that make the past come to life for you and your students. Whether you're teaching the Industrial Revolution all the way up through the Communication Revolution, there's something in our collection for every era. Visit everything-history.com/EPS to go and start transforming your teaching today. That's everything-history.com/EPS to go, because history belongs in your hands. Welcome to the Everything is a Primary Source podcast, the show where we construct history through popular culture. I'm your host, Eric Salmonson. I'm a social studies teacher, historian, and pop culture enthusiast. Each episode, I sit down with everyday people to discuss the media, objects, places, and events that shape us and reveal what they say about the past, as well as who we are now. The Everything is a Primary Source podcast is, therefore, your history, my history, our history through popular culture. Decided to select Life Magazine.
Yes, I did.
As our item to dissect. And the question that I pulled out is, what was the maker's role and status in society? I think past tense is good because, as far as I know, they don't make Life Magazine anymore.
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and we were talking before we hit record that we grew up, I would say, in a post-Life Magazine dominance era where most of the time it was just Time Life.
Yep.
And then all the stuff other than the magazines that they made. But I mean, just from the title of the magazine, Life, from its get-go in the 1880s, what do you think that they were intending their status to be?
I think the intention, if you look back at that point in history, is a way of bringing togetherness, creating a community within a community, but also spreading things from art to knowledge, from politics to even things for children. It tried to create a conversation while having the ability to still have a conversation. So you'd have different view pieces from magazine to magazine. And it was kind of like a safe or sacred space in a way that you could have them. Even if you didn't agree in that particular issue, the next one that comes out could be totally different. Different things happen day to day, and it was a good way to highlight it. And it doesn't seem... I like that you said that it's a collection of everything, because that is life, right? Yeah.
It's not... And of all the other things that are named Life, you have Life Cereal, the game Life. This is probably the most, and it's not stoic. I mean, it still has jazzy covers, eye-catching type things. It's not ultra serious, but of all the different things named Life, this one at least kind of lives up to it because it's everything's available. It's fair game.
And especially depending on who's editing that particular issue, things change person to person. What life might mean to me might not be the same for you. And I feel that kind of medium in particular reflects that. And as in looking back now, kind of through modern lens, would we be where we are without those mediums?
Yeah. Especially so I'm thinking 1882, that was a pretty important time for media. Especially photography. We read around then that instant photography was becoming more popularized. And I don't know what the publication looked like in 1882. Maybe they have it because I have right here on hand the 2000th issue. But it's very photograph heavy.
Yes.
And the large size of the magazine, that says something about its status. It probably towers over at least most of the magazines.
Well, especially that time. I mean, marketing's evolved, but the root really hasn't changed. It's trying to get attention. And if your magazine's bigger than others, it's going to draw the curiosity. Well, why? The only way to find out is to read it.
Yeah.
So it was a good advertising strategy.
And then go back to the title. Life.
Yeah.
Saturday Evening Post. Yeah, that's nice for a Saturday. But we are Life, you know.
Right,
like,
right.
We have it all. Like, oh, you're Newsweek? Okay, we're Life. You know, we have everything that you could possibly want. So it has found its way throughout time. There's another one, too. Between the two, you know, I think they obviously go hand in hand, eventually owned by the same company, Time Life.
As most things, they get
Just
absorbed.
kind of.
Yeah.
Have you ever been up to the? We were talking about Wolfboro before on the podcast. You've been to the Wright Museum of World War II?
We've driven by it, but it is it's on the list.
Yeah, you can't miss it. It's the only building
right
around
there.
that has a tank driving through it. If you go in there, it's really cool. They have a section of it called the Time Tunnel, and it brings you year to year from 1939, I think, to 1945, the war years. And in each room, it's the same setup. And so they have, among other things, like the price of items, like how much gas costs per gallon, milk, and then the same thing, you know, just so you can kind of trace that. And it has the pop culture of each time period, most popular songs, movies. But they also have bordering each room, every issue of Life magazine from that year. And what's pretty neat about it is like, okay, there's this massive war going on. And two things are happening. One, a number of the covers, of course, reflect the war. There's parts of the war shown in there. I always like how simple the covers are. It's just a photograph. Yeah. Oftentimes it's somebody's face, right? Nice portrait photography. So plenty of times it's about the war. But then you also see other stuff happening. Even it's like 1943, and then there's like a picture of somebody with their horse or something. It's like, wait a minute. It tells us that something that history books don't, right? When you're looking at a history book, in the section about World War II, it's of course going to focus mostly about the battles, right? Yeah. And yeah, so you get like all the famous war stuff. But it reminds us that in the time period, yeah, that was on a lot of people's minds, but life...
It went on.
Yeah.
One of my grandfather's friends when I was younger, he was a World War II vet, and he talked about the morale over there. Because a lot of the media they were fed as soldiers outside of the propaganda films and everything, it almost made them feel like they had been forgotten about a lot of times because things were still happening. The economy started actually growing at points during the war, and people were riding high that weren't directly affected. And I didn't, of course, serve or anything, so I didn't understand what he had meant. But as I got older and you see life kind of pass you by in different ways, or you feel that you've outgrown stuff, I could see what he had meant. And learning history, it's kind of like that. So Life magazine in particular was a good way of showing it through a very non-biased lens at times with those photographs in particular. You saw it resurface in Vietnam. The media had gotten much more mature, so it knew kind of how to sway people a little more. But once they saw footage of what was happening over there and just saw it as it was, unfiltered, it woke a lot of people up. So I think Time, in particular, in those magazines is a great way of just showing people, without necessarily an opinion, just what was happening. Yeah.
I'm wondering a couple of things. First of all, we cheated a little bit and looked up things online, which is fine. Yeah. We want to sound like we know what we're talking about before we talk about it. We saw that in the late Vietnam era, 72, is when they stopped being a weekly magazine and turned over into just special editions and then became monthly in 78. I'm curious if you think that there is a relationship with what you were just saying about the way media was changing so much throughout the Vietnam era that maybe made Life...
Well, Vietnam itself wasn't the only thing going on in the country and around the world at that time, so I could see... It reminds me of, because I grew up directly 9/11 and everything, when the media is trying to just focus on what's happening, if there's a lot of negative or what can be perceived as negative or just it incites those kind of feelings, you don't want to just stick to it. So I could see them switching more in that regard to try and soften what was happening.
Yeah. Because you think about the settings that people would reach for a Life magazine waiting rooms, barbershops, the library, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
their living rooms, if they're already being bombarded
Right.
with visuals on their televisions of, like you said, not only overseas in Southeast Asia, but also in city streets in America, then Life magazine might be kind of a savior from that.
Yeah.
But can they really keep that up for a whole week? Like every single week. Like, okay, let's just do special editions.
Yeah.
Those will be our thing, and then we'll go monthly and just kind of capture. And I mean, there are heavy issues in some of these magazines. It's not all light and fluffy, but did they maybe run out of their status by that point and become just the outlet for people in barbershops and the doctor's offices, and not really the go-to for all of that, because you have so many other different places to get it. So you said it brought you back when you saw that magazine.
Yeah.
When did you start looking at Life magazines?
My grandfather or my grandmother, I can't remember which one, subscribed, but they'd always be on the coffee table. And we were always reading stuff in between cribbage games. So there would be Life magazine. I remember Newsweek started funneling in at some point, but Life was the one that kind of drew me. Time magazine was another where you'd only have those special editions, but he always had a Life. That and Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Those were the two mainstays.
It's some, they're like artifacts from such a quieter time.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying that as there's all these sounds around us, because we're in a children's museum, so there's a lot of things that are sensory overload in some ways. But like you mentioned playing cribbage and reading magazines like this, that they deserve your time.
Yeah.
They're not quick reads, and they're not meant to be quick reads. So they're supposed to be for your time and consideration. That is itself just such a mark of a different era.
It is. Everything's so instantaneous or short now. Even movies. My nephew appreciates movies. My niece not so much. It's too long form. A show is just where it starts to cut off. Like 30-minute intervals is where her attention can kind of stay. And you see it now with phones. Everyone having a phone from an early age and tablets on. It's the attention spans are kind of shorter almost because of what media's evolved into. And how it's tried to grab attention.
I don't think they should still make Life, at least not regular editions. They might do the special ones here and there.
Yeah.
And it's always like random celebrities that they'll cover for no reason at all. Like, they're not even like passed on or anything. It's just like Gordon Ramsay, like Life magazine special about this guy. But I think about how certain media has gone full circle. You mentioned about movies. Films were not even in their infancy. They didn't really exist when Life first came out, but it wasn't long before 1890s, early 20th century, when the motion pictures of that era were very short.
Yeah.
And Life was like maybe the counterbalance to that, where, okay, you can get your fix of somebody doing a dance or some kind of trick or something like that in these short vignettes at the Nickelodeon. But if you want something a bit more long form, it's similar to, I think now, where the YouTube videos and TikTok and Instagram Reels have become, this is my visual entertainment, my moving picture entertainment, but a long form podcast, which now I'll tell you, you're going to be here for another 2 hours, just so you know. No, the long form podcast or long form, that's the other end of it.
Yeah. Well, I used to joke, because I'm very blessed with the time frame I grew up in. I got just enough before internet exploded, just before, like, ESPN, for instance. Me and my buddy were just talking about it with Around the Horn going. I don't know how long PTI is going to be on there, but ESPN used to just be news. Yeah. Sure, it was entertainment, but opinion really wasn't considered as much. It was, this is what's happened. Sure, the highlights were a big thing. Let's catch you with the home runs and the goals, but it wasn't so much what everyone's opinion was. And now I joked that Fox News, MSNBC, these companies saw what ESPN was getting But then ESPN kind of copied them at some point too, to where it just became, here's my opinion, what's yours?
Talking heads.
Rah-rah, versus just what happened. And what happened kind of became irrelevant in a way.
Yeah, and Life magazine was what happened.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what we think about it or what you should think about it. It's just here's what happened. We documented it as best we could for you. You watch any ESPN programming or really honestly anything on those cable channels, and there's a microphone like this in front of everybody because they're doing the dual podcast and television sometimes all at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's overload in a lot of ways. I had a student just say the other day, because we were in a pop culture class that I teach, we're studying the 2010s.
Okay.
And that's our last unit, which is funny talking about something that's 5 years ago as historic, but 5 years ago was a very historic era and very revolutionary in a lot of ways. And she made the point, she said, this era really created just a whole bunch of echo chambers that because of social media, because of that catered just to one group or whatever, you're ending up in these silos and you're not knowing anybody else. And I didn't finish reading the Wikipedia article, so maybe I don't know this, but I don't think Life magazine still is being made. I think it would be great for us if something like that could reemerge because, like we said, it has everything. Anybody can read it. It's not just distributed to certain people, subscribers, I guess, but it wasn't something that, you only knew about it because the algorithm
gave it to you. Yeah.
And if you like it enough, it'll give you more. It's like, here's life. Just read it.
I'll say it to my girlfriend at times, even my best friend, I'll be watching something and I can feel when the pandering or whatever the message or their goal is being put into it, and it takes me out of it, whereas before, whatever that film or show or whatever it was meant to get you thinking, not so much to tell you what to think. Not that everything is like that now, but it's a lot more heavier than it used to be. And
no, I've sensed it too. I think you and I have very similar outlooks on things. Yeah. It's like, don't talk down to me.
Right.
I really don't like it even. Sometimes even those flashing signs on the road, winter weather expected, be prepared. It's like, I live in New England.
I should be prepared.
I know, like, half of my year is preparing for this. Like, I know what to do. You don't, and even sometimes the local TV stations, tips on how to shovel your driveway. I'm like, okay, do we have a huge migration from Florida? That don't know, I don't. It's usually the other way. Like, there's most people go down there, so you might down there say how to avoid being attacked by an alligator because you might not know these things because you're a new arrival. But in this part of the country, people know about snow, right? They know about what to expect, and you don't need somebody. And that definitely seems to be part of the package of most media outlets now. We'll tell you. Not just, here it is.
Yeah.
We'll tell you.
I love all films, really. And I can go to different films at times if whatever mood I'm in. But usually after the end, I'm still thinking new thoughts. Even if it's my 10th time watching it, I'll catch different things. Like, was this what he meant? Or did he know this would be such an open ending? The modern pandering is one of those things where I feel I'm being talked down to, or that I'm not smart enough to get what the artist might have been envisioning.
Yeah.
You see it in a lot of things, not just TV shows and movies. It kind of makes you feel like you're cattle at points being steered where they want you to go. Where it's like, no, I think what made it great before was everyone's different viewpoints. Like life, you had so many different opinions that it made it a bigger thing in a good way.
I've actually seen some movies recently that seem to be going back to that, and I was really surprised at both of them. Last summer was Twisters, and I was expecting for the big modern message to come crashing down, and it never did. Like, I could kind of see what they were trying to say. But have you seen Twisters?
I haven't seen this. No, I'm a purist with the first movie. I loved it so much.
It's such a great movie. It's one of my family's favorites. We watch it all the time. And that's why we were like kind of trepidatious about seeing Twisters. What's great about it's not a straight up sequel.
That's good.
So you see one glimpse of it's the Dorothy machine from the original movie. Like they're using it at the very beginning of this one.
Yeah.
That's it. As a fellow educator, I know that taking our social studies classes to historical sites and museums can be a rewarding experience for everyone involved. But between coordinating transportation, keeping track of permission slips, and paying out of pocket for unforeseen expenses, it can also be a large task for a busy teacher. The Everything is a Primary Source to Go artifact borrowing service replicates the most engaging part of a museum field trip. And that's interacting with real historic objects directly in your classroom, but without the process and cost of taking your class off campus. The Everything is a Primary Source archive contains ephemera and physical objects dating from the 1820s onward, with emphasis on the 20th century. Pre-made and curated kits pull from the collection and are designed to complement your curriculum, just as the exhibits at your favorite cultural center do. Visit everything-history.com to learn more about EPS to Go and how it can help you bring the museum to your classroom. Yeah, it's homage, and there's a point where you think they're going to do the pandering, the fan service, and reveal that somebody from you keep waiting for somebody from the original movie to come out of the back room and be like, oh, I thought you would, it's like none of that. And
quick shout out to Bill Paxton, Philip Seymour.
They clone one of them, and he's back. Or say like, oh, this is Dusty's daughter,
cool,
but they never do that. And I'm like, okay, I like that you can maybe even bring up interest in the original and allow for people to sort through the minutia.
Yeah,
because it's hard for like a modern young people to know about things from even 20 years ago because they're just so drowning in content. They have so much to navigate through. And so the other one was Lilo and Stitch. I just saw that came out, the live action version of it. And again, I set my bar kind of low. And yes, there is some messaging in there, but it's not nearly as overt as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And it's like pretty close to, so unlike Twisters, it is meant to be a retelling of the same story.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of parallels, but then it does stuff on its own that's like, okay, that's cool. I like that. So I think movies are recognizing that they're not getting the automatic audience that they used to.
It's a scary thing too, just try from a business owner's perspective, trying to operate theaters, and then directors, or not even directors, because I feel they don't have as much control anymore. Like just a producer's choice can almost just sink a film before it even comes out, and down the line it hurts that theater owner because someone who necessarily wasn't even in touch with the audience or what the source material was had to put something in.
And then they have to, I think they have contracts that say they have to run the movie for so long.
Yeah.
And if
it costs them more money.
Right, if they're in a small area, small town, like a lot of those rural movie theaters, everybody in town who's going to go see it has seen it.
Yeah. And
it's still taking up space in the theater for the next 4 weeks.
Right.
And they're like, okay, now we can't show anything else.
Yeah.
I pulled out, this is The American magazine. And this one is, it's funny, it doesn't have a date because the cover's missing. Okay, 1909, so 20 years after Life magazine, give or take. And as you flip through it, it's very similar because I think that era in which Life emerged and these kinds of magazines, Harper's Monthly, Harper's Weekly, these just kind of like digest magazines where it's just, here's everything that we could fit into this one magazine. That era was seeing a lot of new arrivals in the country, large scale arrivals in the country.
Technology growing.
Huge, second industrial revolution, so the print industry was loving it, that they could produce more and cheaper, and they could, I heard a term of geographic democratizing, doing a podcast last year about another magazine. And that's something that would happen in these kinds of texts, is that anybody could have access to them, just like the movies we were just talking about. Yep. That you could go from a rural area to a urban one, and everybody still has access to the same information. And then a publication like Life, the thesis is in the title.
Yeah.
We're going to cover it all. We'll give agency to all these people, no matter what it is.
Yeah, and National Geographic was another one of those where it was just unfiltered. Here's the animal kingdom or the ecosystem of wherever we're covering. This is it as it is.
Yeah, and we're not... there is some editorializing, even with photography, because the photographer's telling you what you're going to see, and they do have power in that. So it's like they're saying, I want you to look at this, not that.
Yeah.
But it might inspire somebody to go seek it out on their own. If they see somewhere in National Geographic, they, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that place existed.
Right.
I want to go there if I can. And it opens up worlds for people that they just, and I guess that's another function of Life too, is, wow, I didn't know that existed, or because the world is what is in our mind.
Right.
And it only gets as big as we allow it to get. And so that opens up worlds.
And things like that can help change your perception and help you grow. Even if it's not intended to, it can get that thought in there, and however long it takes for that thought to work its way through.
I'm wondering how many, I'm sure Life has, actually I do, the same day I got that one a few weeks ago, there was another one that somebody reached and grabbed before I could get it, and it was like our most iconic photographs from Life magazine. And man, that was, because that's them saying for themselves, like, yes, we did all these great pictures, but if you were to put together a list of a collection of the most, I hate using the word iconic because I think it's overused nowadays, but the most iconic, so I guess in the case of a photograph, it works. Represents a larger idea in a small image. Photographs of all time, I guarantee you, at least half of them came from Life magazine or appeared in Life magazine at some point. And it's therefore part of that storytelling of the whole world's history and who we are as human beings. That, at the magazine stand, you get your National Geographic, you get your Life magazine, you get your Time magazine, Sports Illustrated. You're all set, right? You got all the bases covered. Home and Garden, maybe, just in case. But I miss how much print media is consumed. It's like when I'm sure we're similar age group. Growing up, and like you mentioned that you remember a world without the internet. Yeah. And you remember what an impact it made. But one thing that we had in that transitional period especially was everybody liked cutting up their magazines, right? And using it to collage, decorate, kind of like what I did with these boxes here. Yeah. And no two collages were identical. Right? Because everybody, even if it was the same pictures they were using, everybody had a different way of ordering things. And theming them or whatever they wanted to do with it, and you really can't do that with digital media. It doesn't work the same way.
No, I'll always be hopeful that things. Things are cyclical for the most part. They always come back around, like vinyl now. Yeah. My nephew, he's only just turned 14. He loves vinyl, so I'm able to kind of share what I have with him. But I'm like, man, I remember my grandfather showing me his vinyl, and at the time not appreciating it until I got older and saw things go into an iPod and saw things essentially now just float through the air. And it's cool kind of appreciating where it came from.
They like the tangible and being able to read liner notes or having like even just the sound of a little bit of dust being on the vinyl.
I still remember the smell of Blockbuster, for instance. There's certain things like that. Tangible media.
If you could go back in time to yourself in that era of Blockbuster and say, you'll miss this when it's gone, you're probably like, no, I won't. But you do, because like just having that ability to browse. Yeah. Not just Blockbuster, any of those video stores. Yeah. I know, and the same thing with the music store. Like you could read a liner note or read a magazine, and an artist is being interviewed, and they mention somebody else. Like, oh, I didn't know that they were, they knew each other, or there was a connection. Yeah. I'm going to buy their music next time I'm at the music store, and your collection just grows from there. And the same thing with the videos and stuff like that. You rent something, and I remember we used to go home with tapes on Friday night. My family would have like 4 or 5 tapes.
Box of pizza and
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can just smell that. It was like pizza, soda, tapes. Yep. You were set for the weekend, and it was just such a great feeling. And so that wasn't as quiet of a time as the era of cribbage and life,
right?
But because it was connected, it was like our own kind of cozy. It was like just one screen.
Yes, yes. Right? I see my best friend now. He'll have something going on the computer while on the TV, and he's usually in something, whether it be a handheld or something.
Yeah.
Constant stimulation's needed, where back then you could comfortably sit in your thoughts or the quiet, still have a good time.
Yeah, and it was, I think when people force themselves to do that, they understand it, they recognize it, that all you need on is maybe a radio in the background.
Yep.
You can just be, you don't even have to be reading anything. You just be like enjoying the music, enjoying the atmosphere, and it's not the worst thing in the world. And,
right.
When people get worried about that, you're right. I think that we just kind of remind them these things go in cycles.
They do.
That people will find a way to emerge out of this.
And you need things like this to happen to appreciate certain things.
That's a great point. Yeah, to appreciate life. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about this. I think this is a great conversation.
No, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Popular culture, by definition, connects and unites us, and proves that people of different backgrounds, in fact, have a lot in common with one another. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, at least in part, for that reason. If it connects with you and you'd like to add to it, or any of the podcast episodes, just visit everything-history.com and search for the Everything is a Primary Source project, which can be found in the classroom section of the website. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Be sure to rate and share this podcast wherever you are listening to it now, and follow Everything as a Primary Source on social media, including YouTube and especially Instagram. Thank you for listening to the EPS podcast, where everything is a primary source.